Mike. Mike.
I've been saying all week, my brake pads need to be changed. My brake pads need to be changed. Why was it just sitting on the ground? Like, that's not supposed to happen, I don't think.
Everyone loves to complain about used cars. They're unreliable, they're money pits, they're nothing but headaches. But here's the truth. Used cars don't suck. People do. And by people, I mean the owners who don't take care of them. Think about it. When a car is brand new, it runs great for the most part. But fast forward 5, 10, 15 years, and if that car has had an owner that has skipped out on oil changes, ignored maintenance, or even treated it like junk, of course it's going to feel like a disaster for the next person. It's not the car's fault the owner didn't take care of it, and yet used cars are the ones that constantly get stuck with a bad reputation. So today, we're diving into why used cars aren't really the problem, the common mistakes that people make that destroy their reliability, and how you can actually get a great deal on a used car if you know what to look for. So let me know down in the comments below if you've ever bought a used car. Was it a blessing or was it a curse? Otherwise, let's get right into today's episode.
I have a problem. A pretty big problem, I fear. I've been saying all week, my brake pads need to be changed. My brake pads need to be changed. They're so bad, and I have yet to do it. And I just parked in this random place. This is literally like a rehab center, I think. I just parked in this random place because I needed to hop on the meeting. And as I'm backing out, my brakes feel like they're not working. And I'm low-key freaking out a little bit. And then I hear this little clink. And then finally I get my car to brake.
Oh my gosh. I hate to break it to her, but her brake pads needed to be changed a little bit sooner than that week. We're talking about she shouldn't have been driving on those for probably a couple of months. I don't even see the metal backing plate that should be on that. That is insane.
Scale 1 to 10, how bad is this?
That's pretty bad on a scale of 1 to 10.
Like, why was it just... It's hot, too. Like, why was it just sitting on the ground? Like, that's not supposed to happen, I don't think.
No,
like, brake pads aren't just supposed to fall off.
No, they're usually not.
Weird.
They usually don't fall off if you take care of the proper maintenance. I swear to you guys, there should have been signs long before she started hearing them probably squeal like bloody murder. I'm going to be honest with you. I've actually done work on cars very similar to this. And usually at that extent, she probably needs a caliper and a rotor too, because those look destroyed, completely destroyed. And, you know, I get it. Not all cars have, brake pad wear sensors, but you need to keep your eye on things like this, especially when it comes to safety things like brake pads. It blows my mind. When I moved to Florida, I was actually super gung-ho that cars didn't have inspections in this state, coming from New York, which has tons of inspections. But the more I think about it, having an inspection every year or every other year is actually extremely important, because God forbid she was driving on the highway or something and her brake pads fell out, she might not have been able to stop, or she would have lost, we're talking like the piston from the caliper would have been hitting it. Eventually, if it wore through that or fell off, we're talking leaking out all the brake fluid, and she would have no braking power. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I wanted to read some of the comments that people left on that TikTok. Was not expecting the brake pad to be in the room with us. Yeah. That's crazy. Like I said before, I was working on a Mercedes, my friend's Mercedes, and something like that happened too. Believe it or not, I think the brake hose failed. The internal structure of the brake hose failed, and it basically locked the brake fluid and was forcing pressure constantly on the brake pad, or the caliper failed. But I think it was the brake line. And the brake pads look like that after about, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks of him driving on it. Completely destroyed it, had to replace the brake hose, had to replace the caliper, had to replace the rotor, had to replace the brake pads. I'll actually show you pictures of it if I can find them. Girl, you literally drove the brakes off that thing. LMF. Hub says it's 10 bad. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's probably a little more than a 10 bad, to be honest with you. Brake pads are also not supposed to be this thin. Yeah, no, they're not. This is from way more of an extended use. I'm actually very surprised that she didn't get any sort of warning light on the dash from them being low, or just driving on it for this long, not checking. But I get it. I get it to some extent that if the car doesn't have any sort of warning light or brake pad sensor, then, some people are just not going to know. The overwhelming majority of people that I have come to realize they usually just wait for the car to tell them what's wrong instead of doing any sort of preventative maintenance to it. But she just cost herself a lot more money. You went from needing brake pads to brake pads, rotors, possibly new calipers, and possibly a new brake hose and a brake fluid flush or cleaning. On that 1 to 10 scale, now don't freak out, but the 10 on the scale was passed a while ago. That's what I'm saying. She should have had these pads replaced many weeks or months ago. So to get that low is insane. I don't even understand how it seriously fell out of the backing plate of the caliper onto the floor. I really want to see the whole picture and it disassembled. POV, trying to change my own tire to prove to my man he's there because I want him, not need him. Oh my... Oh my gosh. Because you know what's even more insane than people neglecting to do general maintenance on the cars? The fact that more than 70% of you guys that watch these videos aren't actually subscribed to the channel. We are so close to hitting 60,000 subscribers and eventually 100K, where we're going to be doing a giveaway. For those that don't know, subscribing to the channel is completely free. It doesn't cost a dime. You might learn a thing or two by subscribing, and it lets me know that you guys like to see videos like this and that I should keep making more videos like this. So if it's not too much to ask, just give it a little tap down below. It means a lot to me. And let's get back into it. Guys, I forget which video we made. It was either the new car insanity episode, which you guys should highly check out, or which I even mentioned in the intro that, even new cars have tons of problems, but the overwhelming majority of new cars at least will run pretty good. They're in the best shape, the cleanest, that they'll ever be in. But we mentioned how there used to be, supposedly, I didn't know this because I never had this offered to me. My dad had a shop class in high school, or an auto class. He went to a specialized high school in Queens where he learned a lot about auto mechanics. At least growing up on Long Island, we never were offered, or have I heard about having an auto mechanics class offered. I even find it shocking. You don't need to know pretty much anything about the way cars work to be licensed to operate them. I think you should be able to it should be mandatory to just have some general knowledge and understanding of cars before you're licensed to operate this machine. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you need to know how to, take an engine apart and put it back together, but you should, at the bare minimum, know righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, how to take a tire off, how to maybe not change your battery, but know what positive and what negative is and how to jump it. Just very simple safety stuff, how to check certain fluids. That's all. So the fact that we no longer offer or even have as a permanent, shop class for auto mechanics and just teach the basic general stuff, I think it would be so helpful for people as a society it would just better prep them before they get tossed into the real world and we see stuff like this where she has the car jacked up on a scissor jack, is jumping on it the wrong way. She's tightening the lug nuts and the whole car slides off the pinch weld, and now she's got a much more expensive repair bill because she probably bent her rim and who knows what else. It broke under the massive load of independence. Either way, you were tightening them. I would have deleted the evidence so fast. Yeah, the audacity to post it is unbelievable. It's hysterical. It's okay to need a man. It's okay to need women. It's okay to need each other. Honestly, that's the truth. It's okay to admit when you need help. There is nothing wrong with that, guys. Yeah. There is such a thing, though, as Google. Like, you can, YouTube how to take a tire off, and it will show you which way. But in her defense, that little, pry bar, with that little crowbar, whatever you want to call that thing to take the lug nuts off, it sucks. If your lugs are even the slightest bit over tightened, there's absolutely no way, even with all your force, to take it off. I've jumped on it. I've pulled it. The only way to get it is with like a breaker bar attached, the end of a jack, sliding that over. Then I've been able to break it free. So I highly recommend upgrading that, putting a longer or an extended one. I've even seen it at Walmart or Amazon. It will save you. It really will save you.
When I go to get my car fixed, what sort of words and phrases should I say in order to make it seem like I know what I'm talking about? The other day, I went to get my oil changed, and I called ahead of time to see how much it was. They said it was going to be $74. I said, perfect. Sounds great. So I go to get my oil changed, and first off, in the midst of my oil change, the guy looks at me. He's like, you want to rotate today? And I was like, no, I'm all set with no rotating, please. Thank you.
You want to rotate?
What does that mean? Is he talking about rotating the tires? I actually do know what that means. Why would you just randomly ask me that while I'm getting my oil changed? No, I don't want to rotate. I think I want to get out of my car. Anyways, they asked me if I wanted to rotate. I was like, no, I'm all set. Thank you. I'm good with the non-rotation today. And then they finish my oil change and they say, oh, I'll go check you out in the front. So I go to the front to pay. They said $96. They said, I might not be great at cars, but I am great at math, and that is not adding up. And that's interesting because I called you guys before and you told me it was going to be $74, and the guy was just like, oh, okay. And then he redid it, and he was like, 76. Why was it that easy? Why was it that easy for you to just change it from 96 to 74 all of a sudden just because I spoke up? So after that experience, I'm just needing to know, like, what are some words and phrases that I can use to make it seem like I know what I'm talking about? Like, maybe something about the cylinders. Maybe show off the fact that I do know what rotating your tires means. Maybe something about the RPM. That feels like something. RPM.
See, the problem is, if you go in and you start throwing around RPM and cylinders for an oil change, I'm going to know you have no idea what you're talking about, to be honest with you. It's just sad that the stereotype that women get taken advantage of, it's just true. I hate to admit it, but I've even had it happen to me and my fiance. Just a couple of years ago, when I was still living on Long Island, we needed her old 2010 Mazda 3 inspected, and we brought it. We could only get it done on a weekend because we worked during the weekday. Crazy. So the only real place to bring it to was like Pep Boys. We brought the car to them. I went with her, but we filled out all the information under her name. Key word there, her name, and they hang it over the steering wheel. Well, the mechanic, they called her and they said, "Oh, yeah, we noticed your windshield wipers are ripped, so we can't pass inspection. We also noticed that your tie rods, both in the front, are completely bent, and that's why your car isn't driving straight. And it's going to be around $350 for you to pass inspection." I said, "What a load of crap." Tell them no, and we'll go pick it up. We picked the car up. I go bring it to my shop. I took off from work, brought it to a shop that I know of, that I trust. I brought it in myself. I said, by the way, they passed it, FYI, within an hour of me waiting there. And I said, by the way, FYI, the previous Pep Boys said that my tie rods were completely bent. Not only did I go under the car and look at them because I know what tie rods are, but the shop said, no, your car is totally fine. So that just goes to tell you they're out to scam people. They're out to take advantage of people. And it's sad, and it really tarnishes and ruins the industry because, granted, it's hard. Good work is hard to find in the mechanics industry. Nobody really cares at this point anymore. I'm kind of dealing with something similar right now, which we'll discuss later once it gets resolved, if it gets resolved. But you really got to be careful. So the sad thing is, advice for what you should do when you bring a car. You might just have to go with someone. I hate to say it, unless you really know and can prove it that you know what you're talking about. You might have to go with a guy. It sucks. I don't want to admit it, but it is true. I even had my car. We brought it in for an alignment. Same thing. Some random, tire shop. And again, thousands of dollars worth of work. It was fine. They just want to find stuff to replace. Could it be, was it rusty? Yes. Is that, not common in Florida? Yes. So they weren't used to it, but it's fine. Surface rust is not going to kill the car, but they'll just do whatever they can to take advantage of it, because 9 times out of 10, most of these shops work off commission. The more they can upsell you, the more they can charge you the full rate, the more they get to line their profits and their salaries at the end of the week, or the end of their paycheck. That's how they get their kickback. So they're always trying to take advantage and upsell you for stuff you don't need half the time. Sometimes it's true if you can find it, but it sucks. Anywho, I wanted to read some of the comments that you guys had left on the previous car insanity episodes that we do here. What you guys said, and this is what we spoke about. They really should keep auto mechanics class. It doesn't just teach you about fixing cars, but gives students the self-confidence to tackle fixing many other things. That's totally true. I actually built, I don't even think I have anything comparable to it besides working on cars. The confidence that I have built, tinkering and working on cars myself, starting off small, starting off with an oil change, going to rotating tires, going to brakes, and then, it just kind of snowballs from there. It has taught me so much, and I have built so much internal self-confidence that it's insane. So much so that I bought a totaled car from Copart just 2 years after touching my first car, changing my first pair of brakes. I bought a total from Copart and did everything and completely rebuilt it. If you guys want to check out that series, I have a second channel, my car channel, which I'll link, right over here somewhere or down below. But definitely go check it out if you're interested, where I drop a lot of cool videos, and I have a couple coming in the pipeline. Just me tinkering in my garage, fixing stuff or replacing stuff. You guys might actually like it, doing regular work.
I was quoted $2,100 to change my brakes and rotors. I have a Ford Transit 2020, and I left my van at the shop 8 o'clock in the morning. They gave me a call about an hour later, and they said, this is going to cost $2,100. I said,
wow,
why?
for brakes and
He said, well,
rotors?
the oil change. I'm also getting an oil change. And this is a very extensive job. The rear axle needs to be dropped in order to change the rotors and brakes. You have severely corroded rotors, and you have brake pads that are 85% gone. So you really should do them. You have no choice but to do them together if we're going to do the job. Like I said, $2,100, that's a lot. And they say, yes, because it's going to take at least 6 hours of labor. I said, okay, I'm about to go on a road trip. I need this to be done. And I said, I have a $200 coupon. Will you accept it? And I got him down to $1,850, and I said, do you have a student discount? I have a student ID. I do still have my student ID. And he said, I can do $1,800 out the door, but that's all I can do. So I have no choice. I have to get this done. So I took it to the shop. End of the day, they still had not called me. I called them. What is taking so long, in a nice way? And they said, oh man, it was we had to torch it off, we had to blow, we had to do this. They said a bunch of words that I didn't understand. We had to do this and this and this, and it was just so extensive. It's not going to be done today. You'll have to come back tomorrow. 9 o'clock in the morning today, I call and I say, is my van done? When is it going to be done? They said, oh, it'll be done by 11. 10:45 I call, just want to make sure it's going to be done by 11. Yeah, he's wrapping it up, about 15-20 more minutes. I get there at 11:30. And the van is still up, no tires on it. What are they doing? So I go in there and I'm like, you said it would be done by 11. Not in a Karen way. 12 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, can I just at least check out so that I can leave when this is done? And he was like, you're at 16:49. This is what you do. This is what you do when you go to a register and they say a lower price than you thought. So anyway, I paid $16.50 to get my brakes and rotors changed and my oil changed. It's more important to maintain a huge your home vehicle. It's more important. I'm not complaining about the price, but what I am bragging about is my negotiating skills for dropping those prices.
I have so many things to talk about. I'm hoping I'm not going to forget all of them with that. For starters, it's super important to kind of know a little bit about, what is expected with certain work like that, because yeah, $1,700, $2,000 sounds like a lot, but I was reading the comments that people commented that were familiar with that car, and they were like, no, it actually requires a lot of work to replace that. It's a very annoying truck. So the price is warranted. So I get that. Second, it's always good to negotiate negotiate. Believe it or not, a lot of places, cash is king too, something to keep in mind about when you get a lot of work done. If you say, oh, would you accept cash for a discount? Are there any discounts paying cash? Lots of times they'll say yes, because, some of that money might not end up in the register, if you know what I mean. You don't have to pay Uncle Sam any money on it, and they can save money, and you can, save money. So it's kind of a win-win. What they do is up to their discretion, but at least they know they get paid out, or they don't have to worry about chargebacks on a credit card. Stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? So that's also good to offer. But, the problem with that I'm seeing now is mechanic prices are going up so high. It's insane. Some of these dealerships are charging like $280 an hour. Some shops are at $150, $250 an hour. That, like, it's such a massive deterrent from people actually wanting to do work on their car, especially when they actually need the work. So, people neglect regular maintenance. They'll neglect oil changes. They'll try to extend them 10,000, 20,000 miles. I've been at, they won't replace the oil filters if they do it themselves, or they'll neglect brakes or belts or whatever it is. And all they're doing is just ruining this car that could last so much longer. And then, as you guys have mentioned, they'll sell it when there's an issue or trade it in. And now they just pass those problems on to somebody else. It, again, gives used cars a bad rap because, for the most part, people don't really take care of them. Now, some, Japanese cars like Toyota, they can handle a little bit of maintenance neglect. But, cars like, German cars, luxury cars, you kind of have to stay on top of it, or you are going to absolutely destroy your car. And if you're not the one that's going to be left with it, the next owner certainly is. Repairs and maintenance are getting crazy now. It's easily $1,000 to $5,000 anytime I go to the mechanic. Yeah, this is exactly what I was just talking about. It's becoming so freaking expensive. $250 to $300 batteries. Yeah, just had to replace mine. It was about that. And I did it myself. You go to a dealer, battery needed coating on my Audi. Luckily, I know how to do that. $2,000 brake jobs and $200 oil changes are straight theft. $2,300 for tensioner and serpentine belt. On what car? That is mad. $2,100 for a radiator. $1,800 for a water pump. Don't get me started on a water pump. The water pump on my Audi RS3 failed at 25,000 miles. Insane. The dealership wanted, I think, $3,600 to replace it. I got the part for $500. I did it myself. Pain in the ass, but I did it myself. A lot of people get a $4,000 estimate for their car. I don't even know what they expect. Most people can't afford that. It's typically the hours, not the parts that are bad. Yeah, it's the hours that are becoming through the roof. And after getting quote and quote and quote, and honestly getting just subpar work, no matter what I do, you guys had commented, like, how can you, weed out good work and stuff like that? Man, I am still dealing with that myself. Obviously, I default to finding shops with the best reviews and the most reviews on Google, and we'll see, because again, like I said, I'm in a situation that I'll disclose later on once it's resolved. But we'll see how they handle it, because that's how I did the picking, and that's why I am so cautious about who I give my stuff to. But I'm going to give you one piece of advice: always document your stuff. Don't care what it is. Don't care what you're doing it for. Document, document, document. It is one thing that will save you as you become an adult, no matter what you do, especially with cars, construction, things of that nature. Do a 360 around your car. Video everything, even places you wouldn't think would get damaged, because it will. There's a good chance. And they will deny. And then you have to fight it. And if you have the documentation to prove that this was done, go into every situation like you're going to end up in court and you're going to sue someone. I hate to break it to you, but, if you were knowing that you were going to have to go to court to fight someone, you should go in with the mindset of filming and documenting and getting everything written. If something was said over if something was said over, phone, have it emailed or texted to you. Just get as much documentation as you can, and it is the saving grace. When your oil change costs $400, but at least you get free car washes, lattes, and the best cookies, guys, I can't anymore. Oh my gosh. I really do think 90% of this population is completely brainwashed. Like the fact that people just dangle, like companies will just dangle a carrot in front of you and just absolutely take advantage of you is mind blowing. Like credit card companies will be like, and the way people will justify their $30,000 in credit card debt because they get 1% cash back is mind blowing. Like, can you believe that? People will be like, oh, I'll never give up my credit cards. I get 3% cash back on every dollar I spend. And it's like, dude, you have $35,000 in credit card debt at a 33% interest rate, and you're over here flexing a 3% cash back that you spent, or you justified it because you went on a vacation one time a year with Amex points. Are you kidding me? It's the same thing with these dealerships, like, and it's especially common at like the German ones, BMW, Mercedes, Audi. They'll put out the little trinkets, little cookies, little donuts, but they are absolutely taking advantage of you, charging you $400 for a freaking oil change. It's the fact that I can believe it because people do it so often. They swear by the dealership, and that's okay if you have the money. You got the money to justify it, to drop in the bucket. You want to pay $400 for, and you know, they get it by on you because they gave you a cookie and a latte. If that's all it takes, I am in the wrong business. Like, what do I got to do? You know, to sell a business, just offer people a free cookie that costs me 10 cents and I can get you to spend thousands of dollars with me. Like, maybe I have to try it. Can't beat it, join it. I heard a statistic that 57% of all vehicle owners have no idea how to replace the windshield wipers. I learned how to do this when I was around 11 or 12 years old. Yeah, and I would honestly argue it's probably a little more challenging to replace windshield wipers over, like, I don't know, how to change a tire. I think that's pretty straightforward. I had to struggle a little bit. I had to look up a couple of YouTube videos on how to replace windshield wipers. They get a little tricky. I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I did learn it, and it's not the most difficult. It's a very annoying. You have to slide it in a certain way, and some of them have, you know, this open and closing top part that, you know, you got to pop open and then it slides in. It's super annoying. It really is.
Okay, true or false? You need an oil change on your Lexus every 3,000 miles.
That would be false, because on conventional oil, you can run up to 5,000 miles.
Oh.
And on synthetic oil, you can run up to 10,000 miles.
Listen, guys. This has been the constant debate, and if you're still watching this video, definitely make sure to drop in the comments when you change your oil or when you think you should change your oil, because this has been, I think it's the number one debate in the the auto industry here. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. I'm just gonna say, just because the oil on Mobile One says it can run 10,000 miles and you don't need to change the oil filter because it can do 20,000 miles doesn't mean you should do that. These oil companies and these filter companies are in the business for selling their product. And if I can write on mine that it will last 20,000 miles when the competition says it can last 15, most people are going to buy the one that, does more. And maybe it could, but you shouldn't. It's a very important thing. It is cheap insurance, and it is much cheaper to replace oil and a filter once or twice a year than it is to replace your engine.
This is exactly why you do your oil changes every 3,000 miles with full synthetic oil, no exceptions whatsoever. This is a Kia engine.
Not surprising.
Only had about 48,000 miles on it. This is what the inside of it looked like.
48.
They followed the manufacturer guidelines, took it to the dealership, got their oil changes done there.
Wow.
On their schedule, and this is what the inside of the engine looks like. Look at the bottom of this engine. This thing is absolutely caked in super burnt oil. So remember, guys, if you're talking about doing your oil changes every 7,500 to 10,000 miles, don't do it.
Yeah.
This is going to be your engine if you do that. As you can see, all we work on here is Kias. We got them non-stop. So if you want to avoid this issue with your vehicle, make sure you do your oil changes early. Full synthetic oil every 3,000 miles. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a situation like this. This is proper maintenance on a Kia. Proper maintenance on pretty much any car. There's going to be a lot of people in the comments that are going to say, Oh, my car, I've been changing it every 10,000, every 15,000. I don't have any issues at all whatsoever. You may not have an issue right now, but eventually you will. So it'd be a really smart idea for you to make sure that you take care of your engine and do your oil changes early. I would rather pay an extra $100 a year than pay $7,000 or more for a new engine. This has been K&D Automotive.
New used engine.
See you on the next one.
I mean, first mistake, respectfully, is buying a Kia. No offense, guys. They might look pretty on the outside since they got a new designer from like BMW or something like that. But it's the inside that really matters. But I mean, like we've made videos in the past, you can sell people on ambient lighting and massage seats, and they'll buy it for 60 grand, and then it'll blow up on them at 48,000 miles. It's insane. That's mistake. That's the one part that I don't like. Second thing, well, I think every 3,000 miles is a bit excessive. Like, you might not even be getting the full use out of your oil, but maybe on a Kia specifically, you might want to stick with doing 3,000 mile oil changes. But for most cars, like naturally aspirated cars, the general lot, you could probably, I would say I do 5,000 miles every 5,000 or every year, whichever comes first. And then if you have like a turboed car or you really beat on that car, I would recommend maybe every 35 to 5,000 miles. The engine, the oil runs hotter, wears out faster. But yeah, it's insane. What really pisses me off, you know, like we made a video a couple of weeks ago. I just bought a brand new car. Highly recommend you watch that video if you haven't already. Got some new advice. The only exception I have to buying a car, I explained in that video. But I asked the dealer, well, when do I have to bring the car in for the brake-in oil? It's a brand new car. They go, new technology. We don't do brake-in oil changes anymore. I go, since when does a new engine not need a brake-in oil change? What the heck? Anywho, I've sent that oil off. I did it at 500 miles or 1,000. Sent it off for sampling to get the oil tested. Tons of metal in the oil. Ironic. I'll make a video on that on my second channel. But the fact is that, when they told me the oil changes, the scheduled ones with Toyota Mazda, or at least Mazda, every 10,000 miles. That is insane. They listened to, the manufacturer, the service manual, which is every 10,000 miles. They couldn't even make it to the fifth oil change on the car, and the engine looked horrendous. That is insane. Mechanic here, these are my recommendations. Synthetic, 5,000 miles or 1 year, whichever comes first with regular use. I totally agree. That is 100% correct. I can get behind that. In a heavy use, dirty environment, 2 to 3K. I also agree. Racing after every track day event. I agree. Regular oil, not fully synthetic, regular oil, 3K miles or 6 months, regular use. I agree. 1 to 2,000 with heavy use, dirty environment. Racing, the same as synthetic. Yeah, that is great. I highly recommend that. With the turbo, I would put you, and if you beat on it, definitely in that 3K mile range, you should be doing oil changes. Why do people keep doing this? I don't understand the amount of videos I see of people taking the caps off their radiators after the car's overheating. Why would you even, I don't understand why you would ever think to need to unscrew that. Maybe to add more? I don't know. Let the car cool down before opening that. 500,000 likes. Women. No, I honestly, unless you guys zoom in on that, I'm not even sure. That might have been a guy with long hair, to be honest with you. Maybe if they put a warning, never open when hot on it, this would never happen. Oh, wait. Yeah, they do have a warning on there. I'm just a girl with second-degree burns. Guys, you guys are so savage in these comments. It's insane. It really is insane.
Mike.
Is my dude sucking the Freon out of the AC lines?
Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot.
Finally got it running.
What, did he take a quick hit mid-break? That is the craziest video I've ever seen. I don't even understand. I'm all for doing your own work, doing your DIY work, guys, but especially for those that are really into emissions, not letting, the Freon, be dispersed into the atmosphere, which is illegal. I would probably rather you do that than suck the Freon out of the AC lines.
If y'all's car uses premium, do you switch between regular, plus, and premium? I don't know about y'all, but my car takes premium only. And this might be that. Okay, my dad worked in the auto industry for 30 years, and he told me that this was okay. So I didn't have to spend $50 on gas. Instead of using premium, I rotate between regular, plus, and premium.
You're gonna blow
so
up
I
a
had
car.
to use plus today. Like, is something eventually gonna happen to my car? Because I know if you put premium in a regular car, it breaks. So if I'm not using premium in my premium car, wouldn't it break as well? I don't know. My dad said it was fine. I trust my dad. He is the smartest person I know. He knows everything, so.
And he was in the mechanic industry. Maybe back in the day that might have been true, but typically how that works, and I've seen it at the pumps, it's crazy. I don't really understand why people put premium gas in like their Toyota Corollas. In my opinion, you're kind of throwing money away. It doesn't really make sense. It's not going to do anything. And why do you need the extra possible 1 horsepower? It's going to benefit you from the higher octane gas you're putting in it. It's a little confusing. It's not like any cleaner of a gas. You know, if you buy gas at a reputable gas station, you'll be fine. They put the same additives in either. But how that works is if you have like a regular, your car takes regular, you could put plus or premium. It's not really going to do anything. But if your car specifically takes premium and you put plus or regular in, you could certainly mess it up. There are some cars that have limitations. It will say on the gas cap or in that area what your car can take, like the minimum. But lots of cars are tuned for that. Now, I don't think it's going to immediately blow your car up because that would be insane. That really would be insane, but it could certainly do damage. I mean, my neighbor had his wife put regular in their 2022 Lexus NX350. She put regular gas in when it specifically requires premium. After maybe a little bit of driving, immediately threw a check engine and, started to have lights that the car wasn't running right. I can't believe people. There is so much information online. When I had to jumpstart a car, Google, YouTube, you can literally learn anything these days. Totally agree. I've learned everything from finance, investing, rebuilding cars, and who knows, sky's the limit. But I've learned it all online from YouTube Academy. So,
Derek, what car brand has so many issues it basically pays your rent?
I would say Jeep, Chrysler, anything Stellantis. Runner-up would be Hyundai and Kia.
I was going to piss a lot of people off.
And Chrysler, they have a lot of engine failures, transmission failures, tons of electrical issues, and just oddball other stuff.
Totally
the newer
agree.
ones, the older ones weren't too bad, but the last 4 or 5 years have been pretty consistently bad.
Spot on.
Scott, what car brand has so many issues it basically pays your rent at this point?
Car brand would probably be General Motors, especially Diverse and Equinoxes.
John, what car brand has so many issues it basically pays your rent at this point?
Ooh, a lot of GMs and their 4-cylinder, all of their 1.4 turbos. It's just money all day long.
Eco booms.
Danny, what car brand has so many issues it basically pays your rent?
I might have to say Chrysler. It's going to be Chrysler, Dodge, all that. It's just electrical issues. They weren't well built. All kinds of odd things. They'll run forever. It's just everything on it's going to break, except for the new ones. They won't run forever. But I might have to say Chrysler in general.
Scott, what car brand has so many issues it basically pays your rent?
I would say Chevy. The Equinox and the Cruise definitely is our two most popular ones we do. Yeah. Between the turbo and the Equinox, we have two of them out in the parking lot right now. We've had for a year. The engine's blown. So, yeah, those are the two.
So basically, why I threw that video in there is even with the most amount of maintenance that you can keep up with, if you pick the wrong brand of car, it's still going to fail you. So when it comes to buying used cars, there's lots of brands to generally avoid. And then when you narrow it down to the proper ones, so if you're in the market for a used car, your best luck would be Toyota, Honda, maybe Acura, Lexus, Mazda, and that's probably it. And then with those, if you can get service records, maintenance records, a pre-purchase inspection, just make sure the car was taken care of. 9 times out of 10, you'll be all right. But if you just, close your eyes and throw a dart and pick the one in the, the Facebook Marketplace group because it was the cheapest, they probably neglected it and you're going to have some issues. So, just some information to put out there.
Hey y'all, come change my front brakes and rotors with me. So we pulled up to the nearest AutoZone. Y'all should have an AutoZone. Everybody know what an AutoZone is.
Everybody got an AutoZone.
And I got my brakes and my rotors. I ended up spending $230 for them. So first things first, I unloosened all the bolts on my wheel. Then I lifted the car up and put a jack stand under the car. Then I untwisted them all off and took the tire off. And when you take that tire off, put it under the car just in case something does happen. The car just falls on the tire. Then I get my impact wrench and I untighten all the bolts on the caliper. Y'all, this is too easy. It's not hard at all. When you take that off, hang up the caliper and get a brake caliper piston tool to compress the piston on the caliper. Remove all the hardware. And I knocked out the old brakes. Make sure you pay attention to how you take them out. Put them back in correct and took that piece of the caliper off. Unscrewed all the rotor screws and took the rotor off. Get your brake cleaner and clean all the brake pieces and the rotor too, because it has chemicals on it that you don't want on there. And then place that new rotor back on, put screws back in, then boom, you just replaced your whole rotor right there. And you're gonna put the lubricant inside them pieces. I don't know what they're called. Grab your new brakes. That's how I do it. Make sure it's in there right. Grab all your pieces and put them back in. Lubricate that too right there. Then boom, you just change your whole brakes and rotors by yourself. It can be a lot of work and it is time consuming. And you're going to get a little dirty, but who would want to pay a few $100s when you could just do it by yourself and pay only $200?
She did a phenomenal job. I love that video. I have so much to talk about super quickly. First off, I am so impressed. And if she can do it, there's no excuses for why you guys can't do it. She probably just saved herself probably like $1,000 or several $100s doing that herself and not bringing it in. Second thing I noticed, you don't need expensive tools. You can get tools at Harbor Freight. I noticed that her impact gun she was using, that's a Hyper Tough or whatever brand Walmart sells. It's cheap, but guess what? It gets the job done. If you're not a master mechanic or working on cars every single day, you don't need to buy Milwaukee or Snap-on or spend a ton of money on stuff. You can pay cheap and get cheap tools. It will work. A tool is a tool. So, I mean, it's phenomenal. I love the way she did it. She did everything right. She put it all back together. If you guys want useless information, those screws that hold in the rotor, those are set screws that come from factory during assembly. You don't need them. They kind of make the process easier, but they're known to freeze and get stuck and strip. So you don't necessarily need to put those back on. But oh my gosh, I love that. That was an amazing video. But that is going to be it for today's episode, guys. If you haven't already, definitely make sure to smash the like button, turn on post notifications, subscribe. And if you guys haven't seen my previous episode on why used cars aren't the problem, you are. It's similar to this. So definitely make sure to check it out right after this. Peace.